Hey everybody, it's Willbits. We're playing Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies. Trial, day 2 of the Cosmic Turnabout. We had quite the investigation last session. And court is now in session.
Where am I? The judge? I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something. Like whatever, man. I'm not scared of bombs. Objection! Who said that? Not me. Not the judge.
Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Except for the truth bombs I'm about to be dropping!
Oh, yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded. And then Mr. Tonate himself self-tonated.
No F-bombs. F no. I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tonate.
Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tonate's actions. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far? Or maybe we should just start over. Just go back to the first bit and we'll just go from scratch.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready.
Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time?
Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colorful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts.
Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Terran, escaped from Launchpad 1, carrying the defendant Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge.
And
how could the victim climb down the ladder if he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point?
Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct. So that means the testimonies of the first two people on the scene are suspect. There were two people who claimed to be the first on the scene, but can we truly trust their statements? Let's see, the two people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? One of them is dead, the other's a dirty commie that we can't trust. You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, it's certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging. Yes, this takes place, finally, this takes place after case 1. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold. You weren't going to have been able to cross-examine her. She was already dead. That accursed fellow, he killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one. There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already?
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard after I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene.
They saw a third person?
Well, they saw a person. We don't know how many people they saw. I see my sister has been running her mouth. Like the tot she is. That's right. I almost forgot that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister. How could you forget? They're just such the same flavor of terrible. No matter, she didn't see this mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant. I guess the possibility that the figure was Mr. Starbuck is still there. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh? Bring it on.
Very well, bailiff. Please bring the witness to the stand.
I'm here in my Segway. Here, ready to sit here in the Segway.
Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers.
Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me? Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging. 7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat 1, and... Wait. Do I not get to being talking? Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I'm trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony? Very well! I see these fine young lads as a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my epochal testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history. That speech of Prosecutor Blackwell's just now, it sounded more like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos. It's probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head. I wonder what else sailed over the director's head.
Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please.
What I saw at the scene, Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck.
I see. So, in your testimony, you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed.
Oh, the horror, the humidity, the humanity, the humidity. But what I said is what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger. Risking my own life for theirs. Well, what do you know? It sounds like the director really cares about his men. Yeah, although it sounds more like he was scared and just had a peek from far away.
Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm gonna have to press him and draw up more information before I do anything else. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together.
Hold it!
Where were you coming from? The 6th floor. We were making sure any stragglers made their way to the 4th floor. It was then we heard about Starbuck and Terran and hurried to the third floor lounge. On my galactic scooter here, of course. Why do you keep calling it galactic? Does it have something to do with space? Of course, it's specifically designed to be used on galactic battleships. I see. Then I take it works in 0G too? Sadly, no. With the current state of technology as it is, I'm afraid it would just float about and be galactically useless. Well, that's a galactic bummer.
I see. So you rushed to the boarding lounge on your space-age pogo stick. And when you got to the scene, what did you see?
We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside.
Hold it!
Let's see. According to this diagram, you didn't have to go through the control room to get to boarding lounge 1. Looks like you could have gone there from the southern corridor as well. Yes, but in her haste, Detective Arm rushed ahead of me towards the control room. All I could do was merely follow behind her. I see. So we peeked into the boarding lounge from the control room door, and... that seems important, but they didn't add it to the testimony. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor.
Hold it!
So you couldn't see who that figure was clearly or what they were doing. Sadly, the only thing I could tell was that it was a person standing motionless. I feel like our defendant's head is so rocket-shaped, the way that he's got that like crazy pointy hair and the thing in the back, that if it had been him, even in silhouette, you would know it was him. Unless, I guess, he was in his full space helmet, and then you couldn't tell. But I don't know. The defendant, no doubt, staring aghast at his deed. What other explanation is there? Ark! I'm so close! But without evidence, I can't prove that person's the third party. I don't relish in this, and... I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure that must have been Starbuck.
Hold it!
Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave this statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see this figure's face clearly? No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time. But other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was. So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct? I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder.
Objection!
When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director?
Yes, that's right.
Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's odd.
Objection!
The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness.
Hold it!
Hold on. Dr. Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off of the scene? Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by. If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time.
But what escape route could this person have used?
The direction opposite the control room, the southern door to the elevators. Ah, give him the old ring around the rosy. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way.
Objection!
All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, do you have any proof? Well, No. No, I don't. If we're just talking possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon. I, of course, believe him. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for whatever we've done to it. Is that a Sailor Moon reference? In the name of the moon, I punish you! But I say, where's your proof this quaint kingdom exists? You must show me, a little green man. He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. Huh. And he's right. I don't have any proof yet. Still. The southern door was a possible escape route. I'd better make a mental note of that. Dr. Cosmos, may I ask you a question?
Yes?
Why did you look away from the boarding lounge?
Ha ha ha! There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Arm saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her.
What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure?
I imagined her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer.
I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun?
I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure.
2? 2 shots? We found 1 bullet and 1 bullet hole.
This information about Detective Arm's actions sounds critically important, and like something that the defense could object to and show some evidence. Please add it to your testimony.
Thank you! We're gonna press that as well.
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure.
Hold it!
It was a really long press, but I'm glad because it was the last one and we finally got something useful out of it. Neither of these 2 shots hit the culprit?
That is correct. The detective appears to have missed on purpose.
But there's only 1 hole. But did she really? There's something about this that bothers me. So Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, did she? 2 shots. 2 shots. 2 shots. Doesn't remind me of anything. That's the first time that info's come out. I wonder if I can find any inconsistencies. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge. We went to the control room. Saw a figure. Hate to say it. 2 warning shots. I didn't say anything. I don't know what you guys are mad about. If I referenced anything, it was completely coincidental. So I think we present the shot with the bullet hole, because it's a single bullet hole for 2 shots. 2 bullets, 1 hole. Maybe she's such a perfect marksman that one went in and the other one went in the exact same hole, but to have it have no spread whatsoever would be pretty crazy.
Objection!
So let's present. Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing?
You doubt my words? Words that will someday be written down in history books?
Uh-oh, freaking out! Somehow, I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books.
Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so that we can all understand? Please use tiny words and speak very slowly. I haven't had my nappy nap.
You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene.
What?
Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once. And yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirmed that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection!
But there was only one bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Ah! Come back, Taka. Now is not yet time to feast. Soon. You should know the answer to that already. I should? During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun, except we have another bullet and it's a different caliber! Holy crap, what? Oh, this is already getting really interesting. This doesn't surprise me that much. I don't worry about that much. The rifling also matches up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun. All right.
Rifling marks. They're like the gun's fingerprints on a bullet, correct? Yes? And examining the rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun it was fired from.
One of the bullets the detective fired found on its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. Then we have a third bullet! The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. You quibble too much, right, Dono? My beautiful contradiction. Gone. All gone. Come back to me. Don't worry, Phoenix. We got your back. Huh, so that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I better update the record. You better. Yeah, because we have a 10 caliber bullet, which is an abnormally crazy small bullet, apparently.
Very good. Now we know the fate of both of the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all of your questions?
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display, and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No, it doesn't. Because there's another bullet, and it's smaller. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun, but that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person. Oh?
Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. Any time now. While we're young, what piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene?
A different caliber bullet!
And what is this metal pellet supposed to be? Is it metal medicine for a robot? There are robots there. Is this what they take when they've got the sniffles?
Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor. You found it where? In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a 10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than one of Detective Arm's .38 calibers, unless it happened to pass through some kind of shrink ray in the middle of being fired.
Then that means...
Exactly. One more person must have been there in the lounge. Or at least one more gun. A third person who had a gun that could fire 10 caliber bullets. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos? It looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you are absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us.
What's this now?
What? You never breathed the word of any of this to me before. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know? I have many, many secrets that you will not know. Foolish old geezer. So, Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of a third person all along. Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw.
You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom you are just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Now please give accurate testimony.
What I really saw while riding on my super cool Segway.